sit on this chair.
Morning, everybody, and welcome to the News Hub. I'm Simon Constable. More news on Ukraine. The crash site from the downed Malaysia Airlines plane is still not safe to approach. With more on this, we have Paul Sonne, who's monitoring the situation. Paul, thank you very much for being there. Tell us, what is the problem exactly in getting to the site? This is, investigation of the site is critical to find out what went on.
Well, so far what had happened when the actual plane went down, what had happened was that it was in rebel-held territory. It was surrounded by a fairly big perimeter of land that was all controlled by the rebels in eastern Ukraine. That changed as the Ukrainian military began making a bigger push to wall off, sort of encircle Donetsk, which is the rebel stronghold. And in part of creating that circle around Donetsk, and basically walling it off from the Russian border, that requires the Ukrainian military to basically fight directly where the crash site is.
And what does that do with the investigation? I mean, does that basically mean that anything found there will be contaminated in a way that it wasn't before, and it wasn't exactly clean before?
Right. So there are both Dutch and Malaysian investigators, as well as OSCE observers, who are currently in Donetsk and have been trying every single day to get to the crash site. What they would like to do is continue to look for bodies, because there are probably bodies that are still there. But also, I think what they're interested in doing is taking these pieces of debris out of the war zone so that they can be analyzed and at least be held in a place that is not under threat. So in that sense, of course, this threatens the integrity of the probe, because those pieces of debris may get ruined amidst the fighting. But as you say, they were already the site was already fairly spoiled to begin with.
But Paul, how likely is it that they'll be able to get stuff out of there without it being destroyed?
I think it's possible. Certainly, if they had arrived earlier, it seems like it was possible. It seems like the rebels weren't interested in keeping the debris around. They certainly weren't particularly interested in keeping the bodies around. But unfortunately, they arrived after the Ukrainian military had already started making this push. So now the question is really, is the fighting going to calm down there? Is the Ukrainian military going to take control of that area, which would give them an opportunity to take that stuff away? Or is this just going to continue to be, essentially the front line in a war zone, which is what the crash site has turned into? Okay.
A sadder part of a very sad story. Thank you very much, Paul Sonne of the Wall Street Journal.